It's coming up for essay writing time, and I can tell that because I'm starting to get more and more informal requests for advice about essays and stuff. And by and large, the stuff that's coming through is pretty damn good. But there's a couple of pitfalls that I want to draw your attention to. That we, I mean, I say that there's pitfalls. This is the first time I'm going to be reading essays of this description. So I'll just tell you what I'm looking for. First of all, make sure that you start off the essay with your two narratives. I sent you an example of what it was that I was after, and put it in that sort of format, 250 words each. The second thing I want you to say about those narratives is this. I want you to put somebody else's point of view, who you disagree with, in words that they might be happy being said on their behalf. It's easy just to set someone up and say, oh, well, a patient was delivered to us and they were in rubbish state, and we were completely dissatisfied with the quality of the transfer. That's easy to say. What I'm looking for here is that you put yourself into the position of the person who is being complained about, and you have a good argument for why they did what they did. Or imagine that you're having a discussion with somebody else where you're wrong. Try that. Both people should be. You see, what I want to do is force you into a position where you're engaging arguments and looking for evidence to support different perspectives. That's what I'm after. Don't be afraid to put a case where somebody's complained about something that you've done, or thinks that the way you've dealt with the situation isn't right. And then put your case and back it up with evidence. Given the fact that we are going to be talking about something here which is potentially critical of somebody else, well, at least there's going to be a difference of opinion, make sure that you are scrupulous in your attention to confidentiality. I don't want anything that a person can point to and say that they were unfairly represented in writing. That can have serious implications. So as far as the essay goes, start off with narratives, yeah? And then the next thing I want to say to you is this. Make sure that your reference technique is impeccable. This is the easiest part of the essay. Nothing that you do in the essay will be as easy as getting the referencing right. It's Harvard. It's in your handbook. A link to how to reference in Harvard. I start reading essays at the reference list because it's one of the few things in the essay that I find is objective. What I mean by that is whether or not you put a satisfying argument, whether or not you put a logical argument, to an extent is a matter of opinion. Whereas the reference list, either the references are correct or they are not correct. It's as simple as that. It's a no-brainer. So make sure that your references are impeccable. As for the rest, introduction, simple essay writing, introduction, where you raise the subject that you're going to be discussing, why it's of interest to you, how this relates to your day-to-day work may be. Then there's a main body. For example, whether or not there's any public policy that might influence the subject that's under discussion. In Britain, we've got the National Service Framework, we've got NICE. I don't know about public policy in Ireland. And that'd be very, very interesting for me to see. What are the public policy priorities in terms of ischemic heart disease? So, are there any public policy implications? Are there any issues of ethics and law involved in your discussion? What is the cost to the economy? What are the different perspectives on what it is that you're talking about? Are there different perspectives? Are there different philosophical approaches to what it is that you're talking about? We've had, in this module, in the stuff that I've shown you, we've had numerous different philosophical approaches to several cardiac-related subjects. So main body, that's where the meat and drink of your discussion is going to be. Make sure it's got a logical flow. Now, here's my advice to you about writing and writing style. From the marker's perspective, it's always easy to see who's read their script before handing it in. Now that's a strange thing to say, isn't it? Because by definition you've read it if you've written it, you'd think. But people hand work in where there are errors which are so glaring and so obvious that frequently you've got to theorise that they've got so sick and tired of this subject that they've written it and they've packed it off to you without reviewing it and without re-editing it. And if you leave it a couple of days, an essay, and you go back to it, then you look at it and you think, what on earth did I mean by that? Look at the grammatical errors there. There's a better way of expressing this. And here it is. People who hand work in that's been edited and re-edited hand in an essay which just looks glossy and polished and practiced. So I advise you, before you hand it in, read it through. One last thing. Could you please send me all of these essays electronically? Now, the reason why I ask you to do that is that the university has taken a new attitude to plagiarism. And that is that we have to pass our essays through a plagiarism detecting program. Sorry, but there you are. So I need I mean, I have no doubt that you were going to send it to me like that anyway, but I will be applying this stuff to through a program called Turnitin, which is scary, by the way. I've passed some of my essays through, and it even picks up, references or quotes. And not only does it tell you if this stuff has appeared before, it tells you where it's appeared, what publication, what volume number, and it can really track stuff down. I'd love to see some of my colleagues' PhD theses pass through this. I've got to tell you that for the start. Anyway, look, keep sending me the drafts. I'll offer you what information, what opinion I can, and I'm looking forward to reading these. I'm sure they'll be of good quality. But don't forget, reference and re-edit. Speak to you soon.